I fixed the damn camera. I should have told them, but I didn't. And what I saw changed everything. Major Lena Thompson sits rigid in her cramped Fort Chambers office. The harsh fluorescent lights buzz overhead like angry wasps. Her mahogany fingers grip the phone with white-knuckled intensity. At 33, she commands respect through steel discipline and unwavering focus. Her pressed uniform bears the weight of authority, earned through blood and sweat. The phone screen glows with live surveillance footage from the training area. She installed that camera herself after countless mysterious pranks plagued her command. Someone had been targeting her specifically for weeks. Coffee mysteriously going cold during morning briefings. Important documents shuffled into comedic disorder. Her favorite pen vanishing right before crucial meetings. Each incident chipped away at her authority like water eroding stone. The camera was supposed to catch the culprit red-handed. But then it broke 3 days ago during a routine equipment check. Or so she thought. This morning she finally fixed the damn thing. The technical manual lay scattered across her desk like battlefield debris. 2 hours of rewiring and recalibrating the digital feed system. But in her exhaustion, she forgot the most crucial step. She never informed the platoon the camera was operational again. Now the screen shows crystal clear, high-definition footage. Her office feels smaller as the weight of discovery settles in. The training area appears empty at first glance. Then movement flickers in the corner of the frame. A tall figure slides through the door like a shadow. Lieutenant Jake Ramirez steps into view wearing his signature mischievous grin. 33 years old, with shoulders broad enough to carry equipment for miles. His dark eyes dart around the room with calculated precision. He thinks he's completely alone and unobserved. Lena's breath catches in her throat like a trapped bird. Her heart pounds against her ribs with increasing intensity. Jake moves with the confidence of someone who believes himself invisible. He approaches her desk with theatrical stealth and exaggerated tiptoeing. From his cargo pocket, he produces a bright yellow sticker. The words "Lena's worst nightmare" gleam in bold black letters. Her eyes widen as understanding crashes over her like a tidal wave. This man has been her tormentor for weeks. Jake carefully peels the adhesive backing with surgical precision. He places the sticker directly on her desk nameplate. Then something extraordinary happens that defies military protocol entirely. Jake breaks into the most ridiculous victory dance she's ever witnessed. His arms flail wildly above his head like a celebration scarecrow. His feet shuffle in patterns that would embarrass professional dancers. He pumps his fists and gyrates his hips with uninhibited joy. "Ha ha, the boss won't know this time," he mutters triumphantly. "Revenge for the jogging penalty last week, you strict taskmaster." His voice carries the satisfaction of perceived victory. Lena watches through the phone screen, completely mesmerized by the spectacle. Her mouth falls open as wide as a surprised fish. The phone trembles violently in her shaking hands. But Jake isn't finished with his private celebration yet. He spots the emergency donut stash she keeps locked away. Those donuts are strictly reserved for morale emergencies only. Jake pries open the metal container with guilty determination. He selects the largest glazed donut like choosing a championship trophy. His teeth sink into the forbidden pastry with savage enthusiasm. Crumbs cascade down his uniform like sweet rebellion confetti. Freedom tastes like sugar and defiance, he mumbles through sticky bites. His eyes roll back in exaggerated ecstasy. Meanwhile, Lena experiences an emotional earthquake in her cramped office. Shock transforms into realization, which morphs into something unexpectedly playful. "This guy turns out to be my long-time anonymous nemesis," she whispers. Her voice cracks between disbelief and emerging laughter. The screen splits her attention between Jake's continued antics and brewing revenge. He's now doing push-ups while eating, which defies all logic. His form is terrible, but his joy remains absolutely infectious. The forbidden donut dangles from his mouth like a sweet cigar. Something primal awakens deep within Lena's disciplined military core. The hunt is over, but the real game is just beginning. She springs from her chair with predatory grace. Her boots click against the polished floor like approaching thunder. The hallway stretches before her like a runway to justice. Soldiers snap to attention as she passes with hurricane intensity. Her presence commands immediate respect and fearful curiosity from everyone. The training area door looms ahead like the gates of reckoning. She can hear Jake's continued celebration echoing through the walls. Her hand grips the door handle with the force of divine retribution. The entire platoon has gathered for afternoon equipment inspection. Perfect timing for maximum public humiliation and military justice. Lena explodes through the door like an avenging warrior goddess. "Lieutenant Ramirez, you have been completely and utterly exposed," she roars. Her voice echoes through the training facility with commanding authority. Jake freezes mid-dance with the donut still hanging from his mouth. His face transforms from joy to terror in record time. The color drains from his cheeks like water from broken pipes. 50 push-ups right now in front of the entire assembled team, she commands. Her finger points at him with the accuracy of military precision. The gathered soldiers form a circle like spectators at gladiatorial combat. "Boss, the camera was supposed to be broken," Jake stammers helplessly. His voice cracks like a teenager caught sneaking out past curfew. But then something miraculous happens that surprises everyone present, including Lena. Jake's terror melts into genuine laughter that fills the entire room. He drops to the floor and begins his punishment push-ups immediately. His form is perfect now that dignity has completely abandoned him. The platoon erupts in supportive cheers and encouraging applause. 1 for the sticker, he grunts between repetitions. 2 for the donut theft. 3 for being stupid enough to dance. Lena watches with growing amazement as her anger transforms into admiration. This moment changes everything between them forever. 3 weeks earlier, the invisible war was slowly destroying Major Lena Thompson. Fort Chambers buzzed with morning activity as soldiers prepared for another day. But for Lena, each sunrise brought fresh battles she couldn't openly fight. She was the only female officer in a fortress of testosterone and tradition. Every decision faced scrutiny that her male counterparts never experienced. Every order required twice the authority to achieve half the respect. The weight of proving herself crushed down like armor made of expectations. Her office felt more like a fishbowl than a command center. Male officers watched her every move through invisible microscopes of judgment. She had earned her rank through blood, sweat, and relentless dedication. 2 tours in Afghanistan had forged her leadership in actual combat zones. She could outshoot, outrun, and outthink most soldiers under her command. But none of that seemed to matter in this particular battlefield. The pranks had started small and seemingly harmless 3 weeks ago. Coffee going mysteriously cold during crucial morning briefing sessions. Important documents shuffled into comedic disorder before inspection reviews. Her favorite pen vanishing right before she needed to sign orders. At first, she dismissed these incidents as coincidental military base chaos. Bases were notorious for equipment malfunctions and misplaced supplies everywhere. But the pattern became undeniable as days turned into targeted weeks. The pranks escalated with surgical precision and calculated timing. Muddy combat boots appeared in her office after rainstorms. Her alarm clock was tampered with, causing late arrivals to meetings. The emergency donut stash disappeared during her most stressful days. Each incident chipped away at her authority like water eroding stone. Lieutenant Jake Ramirez emerged as the unit's golden boy during this period. At 33, he possessed dangerous charm wrapped in lazy confidence. His quick wit and natural charisma made him popular among enlisted soldiers. But beneath the surface lurked a reckless disregard for proper military protocol. He treated regulations like suggestions rather than absolute commands. His buddies followed his lead, creating an atmosphere of casual insubordination. They viewed Lena as an outsider who needed to prove her worthiness. The invisible war was fought through small acts of deliberate disrespect. Jake would arrive late to formations with elaborate excuse stories. His uniform always skirted the edge of regulation compliance. He questioned her orders with just enough subtlety to avoid formal reprimands. His followers mimicked this behavior, creating a culture of casual defiance. Lena found herself fighting battles on multiple fronts simultaneously. She couldn't directly confront the pranks without seeming paranoid or weak. Reporting harassment would label her as unable to handle command pressure. But ignoring the behavior undermined her authority with every passing day. The psychological warfare took its toll on her mental resilience. Sleep became elusive as she replayed each day's small defeats. Her confidence eroded like sandcastles facing an incoming tide. She started questioning her own perception of the escalating situation. Maybe she was imagining patterns that existed only in her mind. Maybe she was too sensitive for military leadership after all. The doubt poisoned her decision-making and command presence. 3 days ago, she reached her absolute breaking point. The morning briefing had been a disaster of missing equipment and confusion. Her prepared presentation somehow vanished from the computer system overnight. Jake sat in the back row smirking with barely concealed satisfaction. His buddies exchanged knowing glances that felt like daggers in her back. After dismissing the troops, she sat alone in her office. The weight of isolation pressed down like gravity from a dying star. Her computer screen glowed with the harsh reality of defeat. She opened her personal email and began drafting her resignation letter. "Dear Colonel Martinez, I regret to inform you of my decision." Her fingers trembled as she typed each word of surrender. The challenges of command at Fort Chambers have proven insurmountable. She couldn't bring herself to mention the real reasons behind her departure. How could she explain invisible warfare that left no evidence behind? How could she admit that pranks had defeated a combat veteran? The cursor blinked accusingly at the end of her incomplete confession. Outside her window, soldiers went about their daily routines with purpose. She had dedicated her life to serving alongside these warriors. But now she felt like an outsider looking through bulletproof glass. Her finger hovered over the send button like a loaded weapon. One click would end her military career and vindicate her tormentors. One click would prove that women couldn't handle real leadership pressure. One click would destroy everything she had worked to build. But something deep inside her core refused to surrender without fighting. A spark of defiance ignited in the darkness of her despair. She had survived enemy fire and improvised explosive devices overseas. She had led soldiers through hell and brought them home alive. A few pranks from immature soldiers wouldn't define her legacy. She closed the resignation email without sending it into digital oblivion. Instead, she would wage her own invisible war using superior tactics. That night, she worked alone in the empty training facility. The broken security camera had been malfunctioning for weeks. Everyone assumed it would remain broken until the next maintenance cycle. But Lena had technical skills that nobody bothered to discover. She spent 2 hours rewiring and recalibrating the surveillance system. Her hands worked with the precision of a combat engineer. Each connection brought her closer to turning the tables completely. The camera hummed to life, displaying crystal-clear digital footage. She tested the mobile app connection from her personal phone. Perfect high-definition video streamed directly to her device. Now she possessed the ultimate weapon in invisible warfare. She would catch her tormentor red-handed, with undeniable evidence. The hunter was about to become the hunted in this game. Justice would be served with military precision and public humiliation. She sealed the equipment panel and left no trace of repairs. Tomorrow, the real war would begin on her terms entirely. The camera waited silently like a digital predator ready to strike. Victory was finally within her grasp after weeks of patient suffering. The hidden camera became Lena's window into Jake's elaborate criminal empire of pranks. For 2 weeks, she collected evidence, like a detective building an airtight case. Each morning brought fresh footage of his creative sabotage against her authority. The recordings revealed the shocking scope of his coordinated psychological warfare campaign. Day 1 captured Jake hijacking the public address system during lunch formation. His voice echoed through the mess hall playing ridiculous circus music. Soldiers looked around confused, while Lena searched for the audio source futilely. Jake sat innocently eating his meal, with barely contained laughter. The camera angle perfectly captured his satisfied smirk of accomplishment. Day 3 revealed his mastery of voice impersonation and electronic deception. He recorded fake voice memos using Colonel Martinez's distinctive, authoritative tone. The messages contained absurd orders about mandatory unicorn training exercises. Jake planted these recordings in Lena's office, voicemail system, systematically. She spent hours trying to decode the bizarre messages from headquarters. Meanwhile, Jake watched her confusion from across the courtyard with obvious delight. Day 5 showcased his mechanical engineering skills applied to locker sabotage. He rigged her personal storage unit with spring-loaded glitter explosives. The shimmering particles covered her dress uniform like festive military dandruff. She arrived at the evening briefing looking like a walking craft project. Jake offered helpful suggestions about proper equipment maintenance with innocent concern. His performance deserved an Academy Award for convincing fake sincerity. Day 7 introduced psychological warfare through strategic equipment relocation campaigns. Her coffee mug disappeared and reappeared in increasingly ridiculous locations. First the supply closet, then the vehicle maintenance bay. Finally, she discovered it hanging from the flagpole, like captured enemy intelligence. Jake volunteered to help search for the missing mug with theatrical enthusiasm. His acting skills rivaled professional performers in major Hollywood productions. Day 10 featured the sophisticated manipulation of her personal alarm systems. He somehow reprogrammed her morning wake-up call to play country music. The lyrics included references to stubborn women and leadership challenges. She woke up to songs about bossy females who needed attitude adjustments. Jake appeared exceptionally well-rested during morning formation that day. His energy levels seemed suspiciously high compared to everyone else. Day 12 involved complex coordination with the base maintenance scheduling system. Her office air conditioning mysteriously malfunctioned during the hottest afternoon. She sweated through important paperwork while Jake worked in perfect comfort. He offered to share his personal fan with concerned, friendly gestures. The camera revealed him tampering with the thermostat controls earlier. His technical knowledge exceeded what anyone expected from a combat soldier. But Day 14 crossed a line that transformed annoyance into personal violation. The forbidden donut theft struck at something deeper than military protocol. Those emergency pastries represented her last refuge from institutional stress. They were her private comfort during the darkest moments of command pressure. Jake devoured them with gleeful satisfaction like conquering sacred territory. He licked his fingers clean while dancing his ridiculous victory celebration. The camera captured every crumb of her violated sanctuary being consumed. Something fundamental shifted inside Lena's emotional landscape that morning. The pranks were no longer harmless jokes between competitive military colleagues. They had become personal attacks on her dignity and psychological well-being. Jake had crossed from mischievous soldier into genuine tormentor territory. The footage revealed patterns of calculated cruelty disguised as innocent fun. But instead of exploding with righteous anger, Lena chose strategic silence. She saved every video clip in a secure digital folder marked classified. Each recording became ammunition for a war he didn't know existed. Her response would be surgical precision rather than emotional outburst. The hunter had finally gathered enough evidence to spring her trap. But first, she decided to play psychological games of her own. The next morning, Lena arrived at formation with an unexpected serene smile. Her usual stern demeanor had been replaced with mysterious calm confidence. Jake noticed the change immediately and exchanged confused glances with buddies. She walked past his locker, without checking for new pranks or sabotage. Her casual indifference unnerved him more than angry confrontations ever could. During the morning briefing, she delivered orders with relaxed, authoritative ease. No frustration leaked through her professional military bearing or voice. Jake squirmed in his seat like a guilty child, avoiding parental scrutiny. The lack of reaction to his carefully planned pranks confused him completely. She dismissed the formation without her usual detailed inspection routine. The soldiers dispersed, wondering what had changed their commanding officer overnight. For 3 days, Lena maintained this eerily peaceful, professional demeanor. She stopped checking her office for signs of tampering or vandalism. She ignored missing equipment and malfunctioning systems with strange acceptance. Her coffee mug disappeared again, but she simply used a different cup. Jake watched from corners, trying to understand her psychological transformation. The prankster was becoming increasingly paranoid about her suspicious calmness. His elaborate sabotage efforts seemed to bounce off invisible armor. The satisfaction of causing frustration had evaporated into meaningless gestures. He started making mistakes in his prank execution due to nervous anxiety. The glitter bomb triggered prematurely, covering his own uniform instead. His voice impersonation recordings contained obvious errors and inconsistencies. The locker sabotage backfired when he forgot his own combination. Lena observed his declining performance through the hidden camera feed. His confidence crumbled as his victim refused to play her assigned role. The psychological tables had turned completely in her favor now. Jake approached her office during lunch break with hesitant, suspicious steps. "Major Thompson, is everything all right with you lately?" he asked carefully. His voice contained notes of genuine concern mixed with guilty fear. She looked up from paperwork with that same mysterious, peaceful smile. "Everything is perfect, Lieutenant Ramirez. Why do you ask?" she replied calmly. Her eyes held secrets that made him deeply uncomfortable. He backed away from her desk like retreating from dangerous territory. The prank stopped completely the next day as paranoia consumed him. Jake had become a prisoner of his own guilty conscience. The hunter was ready to reveal her hand. Psychological warfare had begun, and Major Lena Thompson wielded it like precision artillery. Her strategy required surgical precision to avoid crossing into harassment territory. Every move would appear professionally justified, while systematically increasing Jake's stress levels. She studied his duty roster like a chess master, planning checkmate. Monday morning brought Jake's first taste of calculated professional inconvenience. "Lieutenant Ramirez, you're reassigned to overnight security duty effective immediately," Lena announced. Her voice carried perfect military authority, without revealing personal satisfaction. Jake's face shifted from confusion to dawning realization of his predicament. "But Major, I've been scheduled for morning training exercises all week." His protest sounded weak against her ironclad professional justification. "Security personnel shortage requires immediate coverage, Lieutenant," she replied calmly. The explanation was technically accurate and militarily sound. No regulation had been violated in this strategic personnel adjustment. Jake reported for midnight duty with growing suspicion about his luck. The overnight shift isolated him from his usual network of supportive buddies. Solitary hours patrolling empty buildings gave him time for uncomfortable self-reflection. Tuesday delivered the second phase of her calculated psychological campaign. The morning briefing commenced without Lieutenant Ramirez in attendance. "Where's Jake?" Sergeant Morrison asked during the initial attendance check. "Lieutenant Ramirez wasn't included in today's operational briefing," Lena stated matter-of-factly. Her tone suggested this omission was standard procedure rather than deliberate exclusion. The other soldiers exchanged glances, but couldn't challenge proper military protocol. Jake arrived 20 minutes later, looking exhausted from his overnight shift. "Sorry, Major, I thought the briefing included all personnel," he said breathlessly. "Negative, Lieutenant. This briefing covered advanced tactical operations only," she replied. Her words stung with professional dismissal, disguised as procedural accuracy. Jake slumped in the back corner, feeling deliberately marginalized. Wednesday escalated the pressure through strategic workload redistribution. Lieutenant Ramirez, you'll handle equipment, inventory, and maintenance scheduling, Lena ordered. The assignment was tedious busy work that kept him from interesting missions. His buddies received exciting training exercises while he counted supplies. The isolation from meaningful military activities chipped away at his confidence. Thursday brought public embarrassment disguised as professional evaluation. During the simulation exercise, Jake found himself assigned impossible parameters. His team received outdated equipment and conflicting mission objectives. The scenario was designed to test leadership under impossible circumstances. Jake struggled to coordinate his confused squad through the chaotic exercise. "Time, Lieutenant Ramirez, your team failed to secure the objective," Lena announced. Her voice carried no malice, but the public failure stung deeply. The other soldiers witnessed his tactical breakdown with uncomfortable silence. Jake tried to joke about the impossible mission parameters. "Well, that was rigged worse than a carnival game," he said weakly. But his usual audience didn't respond with their typical enthusiastic laughter. The charm that once protected him was evaporating under sustained pressure. His confident swagger had been replaced with defensive uncertainty. Friday delivered the psychological knockout punch through systematic exclusion. The weekly tactical planning session proceeded without Jake's input or attendance. "Lieutenant Ramirez isn't qualified for strategic planning responsibilities," Lena explained. Her reasoning was technically sound but professionally devastating. Jake stood outside the conference room watching through glass windows. His former position as unit golden boy had completely evaporated. The isolation was eating away at his mental resilience. That evening, Lena sat alone in her quarters holding her personal phone. The weight of psychological warfare had taken its toll on her conscience. Victory felt hollow when achieved through systematic emotional manipulation. She dialed her mother's number, seeking guidance from familiar wisdom. "Mama, it's Lena. I need to talk," she said softly. Her mother's voice carried warmth across the miles of digital connection. "Baby girl, what's troubling you tonight?" came the concerned maternal response. "I'm fighting a war nobody else can see," Lena confessed. The words tumbled out, carrying weeks of accumulated frustration and pain. "They don't respect me because I'm the only woman here." Her voice cracked with vulnerability she rarely allowed herself to express. "So I had to make one of them afraid of me." The admission felt like confessing to spiritual warfare against her values. "Honey, you don't need them to like you," her mother said gently. The familiar voice carried decades of wisdom earned through similar battles. "You need them to respect the uniform and the rank." These words reminded Lena of her higher purpose beyond personal vindication. "But Mama, it feels wrong to hurt someone even professionally." Her conscience wrestled with the methods she had employed for justice. "Baby girl, sometimes respect comes through strength, not sweetness." The maternal guidance carried hard truths about leadership in hostile environments. "You earned that rank through blood and sacrifice and intelligence." Each word reinforced her right to command without apologizing for authority. "Don't let some boy make you forget who you are." The conversation reminded her that this battle was bigger than personal revenge. "I love you, Mama. Thank you for reminding me," Lena whispered. She ended the call feeling spiritually renewed despite the moral complexity. Outside her window, Fort Chambers continued its eternal military rhythm. Soldiers moved through their evening routines, unaware of invisible wars. Jake was probably lying awake, wondering what had changed in his world. The psychological pressure had achieved its intended effect of behavioral modification. But tomorrow would bring new challenges, requiring different tactical approaches. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Major Thompson, I think we need to talk about recent duty assignments." The message was signed Lieutenant J. Ramirez with formal military courtesy. Jake had finally recognized the systematic nature of his professional isolation. The psychological warfare phase was complete and negotiation could begin. Lena smiled, knowing that respect had been earned through strategic strength. Her mother's wisdom had been proven correct once again. Tomorrow, they would discuss new terms of professional engagement. The invisible war was ending, with clear victory conditions established. Jake would learn to respect authority without requiring public humiliation. And Lena would command through strength rather than seeking popularity. Major Lena Thompson sat in her office reviewing the complete surveillance footage compilation. 2 weeks of evidence filled her computer screen like a digital trial record. Each clip revealed another layer of Jake's elaborate campaign against her authority. But this time she watched with different eyes than before. The anger had transformed into something more complex and emotionally nuanced. Jake's ridiculous victory dance suddenly seemed less threatening and more childish. His elaborate pranks revealed creativity that could be channeled toward productive purposes. The donut theft still stung, but now appeared desperate rather than malicious. A laugh escaped her lips as she watched him tango with invisible partners. The sound surprised her after weeks of building resentment and frustration. His absurd celebration contained genuine joy that was almost infectious. But the hurt remained beneath the surface like a persistent emotional bruise. Every prank had chipped away at her confidence and professional standing. The systematic undermining had nearly driven her to resignation and defeat. Yet watching the complete compilation revealed something unexpected about his character. Jake never involved other soldiers in his elaborate schemes against her. He took full responsibility for each prank without implicating innocent bystanders. His methods were juvenile, but he protected his fellow soldiers from consequences. That realization shifted her perspective from victim to strategic commander. The man was talented but misdirected rather than genuinely malicious. Power surged through her veins as the complete picture crystallized. She possessed enough evidence to destroy his military career completely. Court-martial proceedings could result from this level of systematic insubordination. But destruction wasn't her goal anymore after this emotional journey. Respect and professional acknowledgement were her true objectives. She opened her laptop and began editing the surveillance footage compilation. Each clip was trimmed and arranged for maximum psychological impact. The sequence would tell the complete story of his campaign against her. Jake's own actions would provide the most damning testimony possible. 20 minutes later, she had created a devastating digital presentation. The video montage captured every prank in chronological order perfectly. His evolution from simple mischief to elaborate psychological warfare was undeniable. She saved the file with a name that reflected its importance. The truth about Lieutenant Ramirez would change everything between them. Her phone buzzed with notifications from the platoon group chat. 15 soldiers belonged to this private communication channel for informal coordination. Jake was an active participant who often shared jokes and memes. She rarely posted content, preferring professional communication channels instead. But today would be different in every possible way. She uploaded the complete video compilation without adding any commentary. The file took 3 minutes to process and share across the network. Her message was simple and carried devastating implications for everyone. The truth always finds a way appeared beneath the video link. No accusations or emotional outbursts accompanied this digital revelation. The evidence would speak louder than any angry words she could write. Her phone immediately exploded with incoming message notifications. Soldiers were watching the footage and reacting in real time. Some responded with laughing emojis, finding Jake's antics genuinely entertaining. Others sent shocked face reactions, realizing the scope of his campaign. Private Martinez wrote, "Holy crap, Jake, you're so dead, man." Sergeant Wilson added, "This explains so much about recent tension around here." Corporal Hayes simply posted "busted," followed by multiple skull emojis. But some messages revealed shame and uncomfortable self-reflection. "We should have stopped this" came from Private Johnson's account. "Major Thompson didn't deserve this treatment" appeared from Sergeant Davis. "I feel terrible for not speaking up," was posted by Corporal Sullivan. The digital conversation revealed deep fractures in unit cohesion and trust. Jake's name appeared in the chat as online, but he remained silent. She could imagine him watching his world collapse in digital slow motion. Every prank was now public knowledge among his closest military friends. His reputation as harmless prankster had transformed into something more serious. The charm and charisma that protected him had evaporated completely. 20 minutes passed before Jake finally responded to the group chat. "I need to talk to Major Thompson." Privately was his only message. The simple sentence carried weight of defeat and genuine remorse. No jokes or deflection accompanied this moment of personal accountability. His usual confident swagger had been replaced with humble recognition. The psychological warfare phase had concluded with total victory for Lena. She closed the group chat and began planning the next strategic phase. An emergency team meeting would provide the perfect public resolution. Every soldier needed to witness the consequences of undermining military authority. But more importantly, they needed to see forgiveness and professional growth. Jake's punishment would be educational, rather than purely vindictive. She drafted an official meeting notification for immediate distribution. Emergency platoon meeting scheduled for 1,400 hours in training facility. Attendance is mandatory for all personnel, regardless of current duty assignments. Subject matter involves unit cohesion and professional conduct standards. The formal language suggested serious consequences were incoming for someone. Jake would spend the next 2 hours contemplating his uncertain future. The waiting would intensify his anxiety and prepare him for accountability. Her phone buzzed with Jake's personal text message requesting private conversation. "Major Thompson, I accept full responsibility and request immediate disciplinary action." His message revealed genuine understanding of the gravity of his actions. "I deserve whatever punishment you deem appropriate for my conduct." The formal military language showed respect she had demanded for weeks. "I will address this matter during the scheduled emergency meeting, Lieutenant." Her response maintained professional distance while acknowledging his accountability. The power dynamic had shifted completely in her favor through patient strategy. Jake was no longer the confident prankster undermining her authority. He had become a subordinate soldier, awaiting judgment from superior officers. The invisible war was ending with clear terms of surrender established. But the real test would come during the public meeting. She needed to demonstrate leadership that commanded respect without destroying careers. Justice required balance between accountability and forgiveness. The emergency meeting would determine whether she had truly won. The next morning arrived with crisp military precision at Fort Chambers. Dawn light filtered through the training facility windows like golden judgment. 15 soldiers assembled in perfect formation, awaiting their commanding officer's arrival. The emergency meeting had generated nervous energy throughout the entire base. Nobody knew exactly what disciplinary action awaited Lieutenant Jake Ramirez. Rumors circulated about court-martial proceedings and potential career destruction. Jake stood at attention with his shoulders rigid and eyes fixed straight ahead. His usual confident swagger had been replaced with solemn military bearing. The other soldiers maintained respectful silence despite their burning curiosity. Major Lena Thompson entered the facility carrying a laptop and portable projector. Her uniform was pressed to perfection, and her stride commanded immediate attention. Every eye in the formation tracked her movement across the training floor. She positioned the equipment with methodical precision in front of the assembled troops. The projector hummed to life, casting a bright rectangle on the white wall. "Good morning, soldiers. We have important business to address today," she announced. Her voice carried the authority of rank without revealing personal emotions. Jake's breathing became shallow as the moment of reckoning finally arrived. "Recent events have tested the integrity and cohesion of this unit," she continued. The formal language suggested serious consequences were about to be administered. Leadership requires transparency, especially when addressing breaches of military conduct. She connected her laptop to the projector with deliberate ceremonial precision. The screen filled with the first frame of Jake's surveillance footage. A collective intake of breath rippled through the assembled formation. Jake's face remained stoic, but a muscle twitched in his jaw. The following evidence was collected over 2 weeks of investigation, Lena stated. Her tone maintained professional detachment despite the personal nature of evidence. The video began playing Jake's elaborate prank campaign in chronological order. His ridiculous victory dance filled the wall in high-definition clarity. Several soldiers struggled to suppress inappropriate laughter at his antics. The donut theft scene drew audible gasps from the assembled audience. His voice echoed through speakers, muttering about revenge against the Major. The comprehensive footage revealed the systematic nature of his campaign. Each prank had been carefully planned and executed with military precision. But instead of tactical objectives, he had targeted personal humiliation. The video concluded with Jake's final sticker placement celebration. Silence filled the training facility like the calm before artillery strikes. Jake's shoulders sagged slightly as the weight of exposure settled in. Every soldier had witnessed his complete disrespect for military authority. His reputation as harmless prankster had been replaced with serious insubordination. "Lieutenant Ramirez, step forward and face your commanding officer," Lena ordered. Her voice cut through the silence with surgical precision. Jake marched forward with measured steps until he stood 3 feet away. His eyes met hers for the first time since the footage revelation. She saw genuine remorse mixed with acceptance of incoming consequences. 50 push-ups, Lieutenant 1, for every documented act of insubordination, she commanded. The punishment was specific and symbolic, rather than administratively devastating. 1 for every laugh you stole from this unit's morale and cohesion. Her words carried personal hurt, wrapped in professional military language. Jake dropped to the floor without protest or attempt at justification. His acceptance of punishment demonstrated newfound respect for her authority. "Yes, Major Thompson, I accept full responsibility for my conduct," he replied. The formal acknowledgement marked a complete transformation in their relationship dynamic. He assumed the perfect push-up position with military precision. His first repetition was executed with textbook form and controlled breathing. 1, he counted aloud as his chest touched the cold concrete floor. The assembled soldiers watched in respectful silence as justice was administered. 2, Jake continued with steady rhythm despite the physical challenge ahead. Somewhere around the 10th repetition, something unexpected began to happen. Private Martinez started clapping softly in rhythm with Jake's movement. The gentle applause created a supportive atmosphere rather than public humiliation. 3, 4, 5, Jake counted as more soldiers joined the rhythmic encouragement. By the 20th push-up, the entire formation was clapping in unison. The mood shifted from punishment to collective support for their struggling comrade. Jake's confidence returned gradually as his unit rallied around him. 30, 31, 32. He gasped through increasing physical exhaustion. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but his form remained technically perfect. The clapping intensified as he approached the final 10 repetitions. 41, 42, 43. Jake counted with determined military precision. His voice grew stronger despite the burning sensation in his muscles. The unit's encouragement transformed punishment into demonstration of unit cohesion. 48, 49, 50. He completed with a final explosive push upward. Jake sprang to his feet and assumed a tension position facing his commander. His chest heaved with exertion, but his eyes showed newfound respect. The applause continued for several seconds before Lena raised her hand. Silence returned to the training facility as discipline was restored. "Outstanding form, Lieutenant Ramirez, punishment complete," she announced with professional satisfaction. The formal conclusion marked the end of their invisible war. Sergeant Wilson stepped forward carrying a glazed donut on a paper napkin. He extended the pastry toward Jake with a mischievous grin. "Earned this one fair and square, Lieutenant," Wilson said with obvious affection. The gesture drew genuine laughter from the assembled formation. Jake accepted the donut, but looked toward Lena for permission. Approved this time, Lieutenant Ramirez, she said with a slight smile. Her first genuine smile in weeks transformed the atmosphere completely. Jake bit into the pastry with exaggerated satisfaction and theatrical appreciation. Best donut I've ever tasted, Major Thompson, he declared with sincere gratitude. The comment drew more laughter from soldiers who understood the reference. Platoon dismissed, return to regular duty assignments, Lena commanded with restored authority. The soldiers dispersed, chattering excitedly about the morning's dramatic resolution. Jake remained behind as the others filed out of the facility. Major Thompson, I owe you a sincere apology, he said quietly. His voice carried genuine remorse, without deflection or justification. Your leadership deserved better respect than I demonstrated, Lieutenant, she replied. The acknowledgement opened the door for professional relationship rebuilding. Permission to speak freely, Major, Jake requested with proper military protocol. Granted, Lieutenant, what's on your mind? She responded with newfound openness. You're one hell of a commander, and I was an idiot. The simple, honest statement carried more weight than elaborate explanations. We all make mistakes, Lieutenant. The important thing is learning from them. Her response demonstrated the wisdom that had earned her command position. The invisible war was finally over, with both sides claiming victory. Late afternoon, sunlight streamed through Major Lena Thompson's office windows. The emergency meeting had concluded 3 hours ago, with satisfying resolution. But one crucial conversation remained unfinished between former adversaries. A gentle knock interrupted her paperwork review and equipment inventory tasks. Enter, she called without looking up from her administrative duties. Lieutenant Jake Ramirez stepped through the doorway with respectful military bearing. His usual casual swagger had been replaced with genuine humility. Major Thompson, I requested permission to speak with you privately. His voice carried none of the cocky confidence from previous interactions. The man standing before her was fundamentally different from the prankster. Have a seat, Lieutenant, we have much to discuss, she replied. Her tone remained professional but lacked the previous defensive edge. Jake settled into the chair across from her desk with careful precision. The silence stretched between them like a bridge waiting to be built. Both soldiers had crossed lines that required honest acknowledgement and repair. Major, I owe you a genuine apology beyond what happened today, Jake began. His hands rested formally on his knees in proper military posture. I didn't realize I was making your job significantly harder than necessary. The admission revealed understanding that had been absent during his campaign. I thought it was just harmless fun between competitive military colleagues. His voice cracked slightly as the weight of recognition settled in. But I see now that my actions undermined your authority systematically. The confession demonstrated genuine growth beyond simple punishment acceptance. Lena studied his face, searching for signs of manipulation or deflection. She found only sincere remorse, mixed with uncomfortable self-awareness. His blue eyes held steady contact, without the previous mischievous glint. The transformation seemed authentic, rather than performed for her benefit. Lieutenant, your actions created a hostile work environment for me, she stated. Her words carried factual weight without accusatory emotional charge. As the only female officer I face, challenges you never considered. The explanation opened a window into her daily struggles for respect. Every prank gave others permission to question my competence and authority. Her voice remained steady, despite the personal vulnerability being revealed. I'm not here to win a popularity contest among the troops. The statement clarified her leadership philosophy with crystalline precision. I'm here to build soldiers who have each other's backs. Her mission extended beyond personal advancement to unit development. That responsibility includes you, Lieutenant, regardless of our past conflicts. The words surprised Jake with their inclusive rather than punitive tone. His expression shifted from defensive preparation to genuine curiosity. Major, I never thought about the broader impact of my actions. His confession revealed the narrow perspective that had guided his behavior. I was focused on personal revenge rather than unit cohesion. The acknowledgement demonstrated understanding of military priorities over individual grievances. The jogging penalty felt unfair, so I wanted to get even. His honesty about motivations opened the door for productive dialogue. But I see now that discipline serves purposes beyond punishment. The insight showed growth beyond simple acceptance of consequences. Your standards make us better soldiers, even when we don't like them. Jake's recognition of her leadership value marked a fundamental shift. Lena felt some of the defensive tension leave her shoulders. This conversation was proceeding better than her most optimistic expectations. Lieutenant leadership requires making unpopular decisions for the greater good, she explained. Her voice carried the wisdom earned through years of command experience. Physical fitness standards exist to keep soldiers alive in combat. The practical explanation connected discipline to survival rather than arbitrary authority. Every regulation serves a purpose beyond making your life difficult. Her tone softened slightly as teaching replaced defensive justification. I need soldiers who understand that following orders saves lives. The statement reframed obedience as loyalty to fellow soldiers' welfare. Jake nodded with visible understanding, replacing previous resistance. Major, how can I help rebuild the trust I damaged? He asked. The question demonstrated proactive responsibility rather than passive compliance. I want to be part of the solution instead of creating problems. His offer marked a complete reversal from his previous adversarial approach. Lena considered his question carefully before responding with measured words. Actions speak louder than apologies, Lieutenant, especially in military environments, she said. Her response focused on future behavior rather than past mistakes. Help train the newer soldiers who struggle with basic requirements. The suggestion channeled his energy toward constructive rather than destructive purposes. Use your creativity to improve unit morale through positive activities. Her recognition of his talents surprised him with unexpected validation. Organize better training drills that challenge soldiers while building confidence. The assignment gave him meaningful responsibility within her command structure. Show the other soldiers that respect and competence go together. Her challenge appealed to his desire for peer recognition through leadership. Major, I accept those responsibilities and I won't let you down. His commitment carried conviction that convinced her of his sincerity. I'll start tomorrow morning with Private Chen's weapons training difficulties. The specific plan demonstrated immediate implementation rather than vague promises. And I'll apologize to the other soldiers for my poor example. His willingness to address peer relationships showed comprehensive understanding. Over the following weeks, Jake's transformation became visible to everyone. He arrived early to help struggling soldiers with equipment maintenance. His jokes became encouraging rather than undermining or disrespectful. Training exercises improved dramatically under his enthusiastic creative leadership. The new recruits responded to his patient instruction with obvious gratitude. Lena watched this evolution with growing professional satisfaction. Jake's natural charisma was finally serving constructive rather than destructive purposes. She began adjusting her own leadership style in response to improved dynamics. Her tone softened during briefings when soldiers demonstrated genuine effort. Praise became more frequent as performance standards were consistently met. The unit's morale improved dramatically as mutual respect replaced invisible warfare. Outstanding work on today's training exercise, Lieutenant Ramirez, she announced publicly. The recognition felt earned rather than given to restore damaged relationships. Jake beamed with pride that came from legitimate accomplishment. Thank you, Major Thompson. The soldiers are responding well to creative challenges. His report focused on unit success rather than personal credit. The transformation was complete from prankster to valuable team leader. Keep up the excellent work, Lieutenant. Your contributions are genuinely appreciated. Her praise was specific and earned rather than generic encouragement. Their unlikely alliance had produced better soldiers and stronger leadership. Respect had been earned through actions rather than demanded through authority. The unit functioned with renewed purpose and genuine mutual support. Both leaders had grown through conflict into more effective versions of themselves. 6 months later, Fort Chambers had transformed into something unrecognizable. The invisible war between Major Lena Thompson and Lieutenant Jake Ramirez was history. In its place stood the most cohesive military unit on the base. Training scores had improved dramatically across all performance categories. Morale surveys showed unprecedented satisfaction among enlisted personnel and officers. The unit operated with precision that impressed visiting commanders from headquarters. But change was coming, whether Lena was ready for it or not. Colonel Martinez knocked on her office door, carrying an official envelope. "Major Thompson, I have orders from the Pentagon for your review." His expression mixed pride with obvious reluctance about her potential departure. The envelope bore the distinctive seal of the United States Military Academy. Lena's heart raced as she recognized the prestigious West Point insignia. "Leadership instructor position at the Military Academy," Martinez explained with satisfaction. "Your reputation for transforming difficult units has reached the highest levels." The opportunity represented the pinnacle of military educational career advancement. Teaching future officers would impact generations of American military leadership. But Fort Chambers had finally become the command she had always envisioned. Her soldiers respected her authority while maintaining genuine affection and loyalty. Jake had evolved into her most reliable lieutenant and training coordinator. The unit functioned like a well-oiled machine under her guidance. Leaving now felt like abandoning a masterpiece halfway through its creation. "Colonel, this is an incredible honor, but I need time to consider." Her voice carried uncertainty that surprised both of them completely. "Take all the time you need, Major, but they want an answer." Martinez understood the complexity of choosing between success and potential greatness. That evening, Lena walked through the base, observing her transformed command. Soldiers moved with purpose and confidence that hadn't existed months earlier. Jake was leading a group of new recruits through advanced weapons training. His instruction combined technical expertise with encouraging mentorship perfectly. The same energy that once fueled pranks now inspired struggling soldiers. "Looking good out there. Private Williams, keep your stance steady," Jake encouraged. His voice carried genuine investment in the young soldier's development. Williams adjusted his position and fired 3 perfect shots at target. "Outstanding progress, Private. You're ready for advanced marksmanship training," Jake announced. The praise was earned, rather than given to boost fragile confidence. Lena watched this transformation with deep professional satisfaction and personal pride. Jake noticed her observation and jogged over with characteristic enthusiasm. "Major Thompson Williams just qualified for sniper training consideration," he reported excitedly. His joy in developing others had replaced his need for personal attention. "Excellent work, Lieutenant. Your training methods are producing exceptional results," she replied. The acknowledgement felt natural, rather than forced after their difficult beginning. "Thanks, Major. I learned from watching how you develop people systematically." His recognition of her influence surprised her with its sincerity. "You showed me that leadership means bringing out everyone's best qualities." The insight demonstrated understanding that extended beyond simple rule following. 3 weeks later, Lena made her decision and accepted the West Point position. The news spread through Fort Chambers like wildfire among excited soldiers. Her farewell ceremony was scheduled for Friday afternoon in the main auditorium. The entire base would gather to honor her transformational leadership. Jake volunteered to organize the event with typical creative enthusiasm. Friday arrived with perfect weather and ceremonial military precision. The auditorium filled with soldiers from every unit on the base. Colonel Martinez delivered opening remarks about Lena's exceptional service record. Major Thompson transformed not just her unit but our entire command philosophy. His words carried weight, earned through witness transformation, rather than obligatory praise. She proved that leadership through respect produces better results than fear. The statement acknowledged the broader impact of her approach to command. Jake stepped forward carrying a carefully wrapped rectangular box. His usual confident smile was tempered with genuine emotion. "Major Thompson taught us that fighting each other makes us weaker," he began. His voice carried across the silent auditorium with clear conviction. "But fighting for each other makes us stronger than we imagined possible." The words reflected lessons learned through their personal transformation journey. She showed us how to turn conflict into cooperation and enemies into allies. His acknowledgement of their evolution drew murmurs of agreement from the audience. "We want you to remember us with this small token of gratitude." Jake presented the box with formal military ceremony and obvious personal affection. Lena unwrapped the gift, revealing a dozen perfectly glazed donuts. The audience erupted in laughter, recognizing the symbolic significance immediately. A handwritten note was attached to the box in Jake's distinctive writing. "For the major who taught us how to fight right," she read aloud. Her voice cracked slightly as the emotional weight of transformation settled in. The simple words captured everything they had learned from each other. Jake saluted with perfect military precision and genuine respect. "Thank you, Major Thompson, for making us better soldiers and people." His final tribute carried the weight of authentic appreciation rather than obligation. The auditorium exploded in thunderous applause as Lena wiped away tears. Her journey from outsider to respected leader was complete. 2 months later, Major Lena Thompson stood before her first West Point class. 30 young cadets sat at attention awaiting their first leadership lesson. The classroom overlooked the Hudson River, where countless officers had trained before. History seemed to watch from every stone of the ancient academy. "Leadership is not about being liked by those you command," she began. Her voice carried the authority earned through real experience rather than theory. "Leadership is about being trusted when the stakes are highest." The words reflected lessons learned through invisible warfare and eventual victory. Trust comes from consistency, courage, and genuine care for your soldiers. Each principle had been tested in the crucible of Fort Chambers. "You will face challenges that textbooks cannot prepare you for," she continued. Her experience gave weight to warnings about leadership complexity. "Some will test your authority through direct confrontation or subtle sabotage." The memory of Jake's pranks added personal understanding to academic concepts. But remember that even your adversaries can become your greatest allies. Her voice carried hope earned through transformation rather than naive optimism. "And maybe, just maybe, you will learn to laugh together too." The final words brought smiles to the serious faces before her. Leadership was not about perfect control, but authentic human connection. Her journey from Fort Chambers to West Point was complete.